A lot of people that watch us aren't subscribed. And please, if you enjoy what we do, please hit that subscribe button. Dark Side of the Ring. Now, this is Dark Side of the Ring. Is this episode 4 here?
We had Borga, Tony Atlas, Mick Foley, yes. And Vader. So this is episode 5.
Oh, episode 5. I didn't know a ton about Billy Graham coming in. Did you know much about him before this episode?
I mean, I know he was a trendsetter for guys like Jesse Ventura, Hulk Hogan, and I mean, even though he probably borrowed some stuff from Muhammad Ali, who borrowed some stuff from Gorgeous George, but you know, when you look at the tie-dye and everything like that, Billy was definitely the man. It was interesting. You know, I saw Billy Graham in the NWA with his karate pants on and stuff like that towards the tail end of his career. I was watching wrestling and I saw him make his return to the tie-dye. You know, he was more Don Morocco's manager and stuff in WWF. So I've got to see parts of Billy when I was younger. I knew about the steroid allegations and everything, and I watched him on Donahue and all that stuff when I was a kid. You know, I knew he was kind of carny. I knew he said some outrageous things and was kind of bitter. Overall, I mean, what I liked about this Dark Side was it kind of almost felt like a redemption at the end. That despite all the bad things he did, this guy, as Wayne Coleman, you know, he finally made amends with his family at the end. And even though all wasn't forgiven, they could settle down and they could love him and, you know, they could be there for him at the end. And he just appreciated that. And he had, you know, apparently he had made amends with Vince and everybody too. And, you know, that was nice just to hear about, that this guy had found peace towards the end.
Yeah, his kids were a standout part of this episode. You kind of, I mean, obviously with seeing his son had a different last name, that there had to be some trouble between them over the years to cause that. And you get to hear from them why they felt the way they did. But like you said, there was that redemption at the end. There was, all wasn't forgiven, but they were able to get past it a little bit. A lot of the Dark Side of the Ring focused on how a lot of his depression came from losing that championship. And we've heard it a lot about the old WWF, that you were told when you were going to get the title, when you were going to drop it. It was detailed in Bob Backlund's book. But it seems like a lot of guys, even going into this, you know, knowing that they're going to lose that championship, they still think that they're going to be able to do something to affect it, or that they're going to be a good enough champion that they'll be able to change the course of events. And we see how it really kind of affected his life. I thought it was interesting to kind of see why that karate fighter gimmick had come about in the NWA as well.
What I didn't know, because, you know, I was a kid watching this and I hadn't saw Billy Graham in his prime at the time, but was how much muscle mass he lost when he was doing that gimmick and how bad he actually looked from what he was. I will say this to Billy Graham's, I don't want to say defense, but, you know, Vince McMahon Sr., they seemed to detailed was he was very much, this is the way we're booking. That's it. And nothing was going to change his mind. But if you look at like the amount of business they were doing, you could see where Billy Graham thought, hey, maybe we are going to change course here because we're doing so well. But that wasn't the case. But clearly he wasn't mentally or emotionally ready to be able to deal with that at the time.
Yeah. And what's even tougher is after Billy Graham, you see the company get so much bigger with a guy that had borrowed so much from Billy Graham. So that couldn't have made it any easier. And, you know, that was something that I think Vince Jr. did a little different from his dad was, you know, even if there was a plan, it seemed like he was maybe willing to change things if it showed business would continue. Like how we talked about WrestleMania 9, the week before, how, you know, Hogan was gone, but he brought Hogan back, gives Hogan that championship because he had seen such a positive tick in numbers. So, you know, interesting the way the business changes over the years. Since you have not watched it last night, the episode after Billy Graham is Eddie Gilbert. So we will be talking about this Friday. What are your thoughts going into Eddie Gilbert?
Oh, I mean, I'm looking forward to this. Eddie, you know, was a great mind for the business. You know, everybody you ever hear, you know, guys like Mick Foley, Paul Heyman, they all talk about, you know, the mind Eddie Gilbert had for the business. And with Eddie working in ECW, Memphis, UWF, you know, NWA, and just being married to Missy Hyatt and Medusa, like, I feel like there's a lot of his stuff in his personal life and professional life. There's just going to be very, very interesting. Yeah, I'm excited about this one. That's all I can really say.
If you guys enjoyed what you saw, please hit that subscribe button. A lot of the people that watch us aren't subscribed, and it would just mean the world to us if you subscribe.